Good evening and welcome to races 5 and 6 of the BSR GT Sprint Cup here on BSR TV, live on YouTube. This week's races come from Sebring. I'm Marcus Narris and with me tonight is Jake Cameron. Evening, Jake.
Good evening, Marcus.
Interesting week last week. We'll have a chat in a moment, Jake, and we'll have a bit of a recap on where we are for the championship so far. However, this week sees the first week that these cars will be running on a circuit that really hosts this type of car, these GT cars. Certainly the BMW Z4 GT3s are reasonably at home here. Are you expecting a little bit of a change this week, Jake, in the way things shake out, or are you still expecting BMW dominance as we've seen throughout the first two meetings of the season?
Well, I don't know really, because the BMW's got that real quick top-end speed, so with the straights that we have here, I'm really expecting some dominant action again from the BMWs, actually, to tell you the truth, Marcus. We've not really got any of them small, tight turns where the RUF and the McLaren can really gain that advantage, as that is where they sort of dominate. So I'm definitely looking to see a BMW maybe top 10, maybe top 15 again this week.
Okay, brilliant. So we're into about the last 4 minutes of the warm-up session. These guys have already been through an hour-long practice session, and everyone's qualified, ready for the grid. We'll bring you the grid shortly as the cars assemble. But with 4 minutes to go before the start of the race, it's probably a good time to recap on what we saw last week. There was two very exciting races from Watkins Glen last week, which saw races 3 and 4 of the championship taken by two new winners again, which gives us a situation where the first 4 rounds of the championship have been taken by 4 separate drivers. Notable performances last week. George Lee Wright had an excellent start to the championship, but last week it fell apart for him a little bit, and the big news for tonight is due to an incident that he had with Ellis Stevens last week. George Lee Wright, the championship leader, will be taking a 10-place grid penalty into this race, so he's going to suffer a little bit, Jake. He's going to feel a little bit of a pain for his misdemeanors last week.
Yeah, George really was all over the place last week. Not something we expected from one of the guys right at the top of the championship. So he'll definitely be using his head more this week. And I think, thinking about the passes he tries to make, definitely last week he seemed to not be using his head very much. He was riding on right on the back of people, leaving it to the last minute to pull out and make that pass. But he obviously got that wrong in the carousel, and he did take someone round. Also in the uphill left-hander, he did it again. So that is why he has got that 10 grid place penalty. And I think he will learn from that for the rest of the season, because that could shape up his championship if he gets another maybe 1 or 2 of them.
Well, he's a very lucky boy. He came out of last week despite having 2 not great results, to be honest with you. Still leading the championship. The championship leader, George Lee Wright, he got away with his main rival, Linus Brostrom, having a poor race. Brostrom had an incident as well last week in the first race. Managed to recover the 15th place, I believe, but due mostly to non-finishes of those around him, Wright still leads the championship as we come into this round. So that said, while we've got an opportunity before the cars start to grid, we'll just quickly run through the championship standings. So top of the championship, as we mentioned, is George Lee Wright, who leads the way on 118 points. He's got a 10-point gap to Alain Teasier behind him, and Teasier leads Michael Stephen and Oki Stokenberger, who share 3rd place in the championship, by a further 4 points. In 5th place was race 4 winner Matthew Dalton. Matthew took the 2nd race last week at Watkins Glen and was delighted to do so. And he's just slightly ahead of 6th place Juan Jose Sanchez, who was the winner of the first race last week, race 3 in the championship. 7th place is Sylvain Pommarede, who showed better than that. I think, Jake, it's fair to say he didn't get the result that maybe his driving deserved, but both Pommaredes very, very quick last week.
Yeah, definitely. He did get caught up in a few incidents, so that did not really help his racing, and it wouldn't have bolstered the pace he did have. He was one of the quicker drivers on the day, so it'll be interesting to see if he can bounce back from a poor set of results.
So he starts tonight just ahead of John Onkala Jaraquai, who's in 8th place. Linus Bostrom, who had a very, very strong start to the season and has taken a race win early in this season. But due to poor results, as we mentioned, Linus finds himself down in 9th place in the championship. He dropped 5 places as a result of his adventures last week. Willem Botha is in 10th place. As we move outside the top 10, we see Ruben Velasco in 11th, and he leads the second of the Pommarades, Nicholas Pommarede, in 12th place. He's followed by Matthew Oates, Jamie Rushworth, Chris Keogh's in 15th place, Carlos Foss in 16th, Patrick Bolster 17th, Fabio Gonzalez, Nick McLaren and Cyril Thomas round out the top 20. And in the team standing, the Playful Bet Overgaming team leapt to the top of the table. They finished after the first week's racing in second place, and due to some very steady results last week, they moved into first. So they lead the championship with a total of 352 championship points, just ahead of JCL Sim Racing, and as we mentioned, the Pommarades really lead the charge in that team. So it'll be an interesting evening, Jake. I know the cars are moving towards the grid now. Are you expecting a patient approach, or do we think hell for leather from lap 1 for these guys tonight?
Well, it's only a 25-minute race, and laps around here are about the 2-minute mark, so we're not going to see that many laps, really. I think we could see about 10, maybe 11 laps. So drivers definitely going to be wanting to go for it off the start, especially as there's not really many passing opportunities at this track. Obviously, you've got the long, wide straights, but that's all your passing opportunities, really. So if you can get a good run on the exit of the bends, I think we're going to see drivers dive bombing straight away, right up the inside, going into their next turn, off them long straights we have here.
Okay, so the cars are getting ready to grid up now. The warm-up's over, and as they start to take the grid, let's have a look at how the grid shakes out. Leading the way with 1:59.850 is number 7, Ruben Velasco. He takes pole position, and he'll be lining up on the front row next to GT Series regular Michael Booth. Michael Booth races in a lot of iRacing GT Series, and he's always quick. Third place is winner of one of the races last week, Juan Jose Sanchez, and he starts just ahead of Andres Quintana. And of the people who had success last week, Jake, you'd have to say that Juan Jose Sanchez stands the best chance of repeating that feat with his third place start in this race.
Yeah, definitely third will boast for him a good advantage. He really did get a good start last week. He didn't start on that pole position though, so it'll be interesting to see if he can move through the field like he did last week and maybe take his second race win and stop the record breaking that we've had so far this season.
So as the cars leave on the formation lap, the pace lap, we're just bringing the rest of the grid. So in 5th place is Sylvain Pommarede, and Sylvain, as we said, he showed some great pace, but not really got the results so far that maybe his driving deserves. 6th place is Fabio Gonzalez, and he'll start with Ashley Sutton immediately behind him. Ashley Sutton, we know, is a very, very quick guy and races Formula Ford in real life, but again has suffered from some incidents. 8th place is Jose Vergara, 9th place is Christian Tanahoto, and 10th place is Alain Teasier. So a good split there amongst the members of JCL Sim Racing and Playful Bet Overgaming, the guys that lead the way in the championship. Other names of note and of mention, George Lee Wright qualified in 12th place, but taking his 10th place grid penalty means that Lee Wright will start in 22nd on the grid. We also see a relatively lowly starting position. A big surprise for me, Jake. Linus Brostrom, who showed some great pace early in the season and took a race win in the first weekend, finds himself way down in 38th position. A good second and a half off the pace.
No, I really do think Linus is going to struggle for the rest of this. Well, not really. Maybe rest of the season. Depends how long he's going to be with that cast on his broken arm. But I think that really played a big part in last week's retirement when got side by side going into the chicane, and he sort of, whether he tugged his steering wheel a little too hard and it caused him to get a little bit discomfort in that arm, we'll have to see and find out later and see if he has that problem again. But definitely going to struggle, I reckon, and not going to have that pace.
But even so, despite the injury, which he raced with last week, he was quite close to the pace last week until, as you quite rightly say, Jake, he had to park the car. He obviously couldn't take it anymore. He'd had enough. Also, race 4 winner, so the winner of the second race last weekend at Watkins Glen, Matthew Dalton, in the number 54 car, finds himself starting in 40th place. So he'll be hoping to repeat what he did last week, which is get a reasonable finish somewhere in the upper reaches of the top 20, give himself a good starting position for race 2. Of course, we run a top 20 reverse grid for race 2, so depending on how these guys finish this race. The top 20 will be reversed, and Matt took great advantage of that last week to turn that into a race win. Do you think he'll be able to repeat that, Jake, or do you think it's too big an ask starting from 40th position?
Definitely starting from down there. He's got 20 positions to make up to get that pole position. So he's really going to be pushing hard because he's not had the best of qualifying, really, Matt. Matt's not really a qualifying guy. He's more of that race. He focuses on the race. He sacrifices his qualifying pace for obviously the better race pace. So he's definitely got a lot of work to do from the back there, but I really do reckon he could actually make something happen in this race, especially if drivers near the front lose their head and don't really seem to be controllable, if you know what I mean. They won't look after their car. Also on the rolling lap, we did miss it a minute ago. We did have an incident going into turn number 11. Carlos Foss, this is on the rolling lap, remember, got into the back of Jean Piretto, and that is him now out of the race. So that will be something we'll have to look back at the end of the race.
Okay, we'll take a look at that, Jake, as they come around the Sunset Bend onto the main start-finish straight for the first time. We've got Ruben Velasco and Michael Booth side by side. The lights go green and away they go, and Booth in the Porsche can't hang on, the RUF, sorry, get it right, can't hang on to second place, and it certainly looks to me like he's lost a place there to a couple of drivers. Ruben Velasco leads the way as they go through the first turn, with Juan Jose Sanchez immediately behind him. In third place now is Sylvain Pommarede. So as we said, Pommarede very, very quick and showing a lot of speed here, and the cars try and funnel through the left-right section there, and Quintana finds himself side by side with Ashley Sutton, and it's all go at the start here, Jake, but it looks to me like pretty much everyone's got away cleanly.
Yeah, really, really good race start there, especially from the front two drivers there, Ruben Velasco and Jean Jose Sanchez. Really good start, off the mark straight away. Whether they were counting that down in TeamSpeak, we'll have to find out afterwards, but definitely a good start. And we see a spinner there, that's our first of the RUFs. That's Fabio Gonzalez around as well, so big incident there into turn 4.
Yeah, it just looks to me like it's a difficult place there. You've got to get on the brakes early, and there's been a subsequent incident, I think, as a result of everyone slowing down there. Fabio Gonzalez got it wrong going into the tight right-hander there at the hairpin at the end of that back straight, and unfortunately it looks like as a consequence of that we've seen Ryan Littlemore and Matthew Oates get caught up in subsequent incidents as the pack slowed down. So a bit of a shame there, but you know, certainly not. Didn't look to me like a contact cause incident. I know we're going to have another look at it, Jake, but it just looks to me like he got it a little bit wrong there.
Yeah, he did get it very wrong there. Michael Booth was the actual cause of that in the RUF. He's dropped back a lot of positions down into that P20 first position now. So he was the cause of that incident, and then obviously it's just caused that chain reaction, and drivers have checked up, ran wide, and then as they're coming out of that bend, they've obviously put the throttle down, seeing him there, and he's obviously just lost the rear end of that car. So that's going to be a big downset to Fabio in this one. So we'll have to see where he can come. But talking about Matt Dalton, he's made a really good start, really good charge there. We see contact actually into the last turn. Just heard that on my screens. We'll have to get confirmation on who that was, just running wide and taking the barrier.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that was. We'll have a look at who that was for you. We'll try and bring that to you. But as the cars come around to complete the first lap, Ruben Velasco leads from Juan Jose Sanchez by over a second, just over a second. Sylvain Pommarede runs third in the number 26 car, and he's got Andres Quintana for company. Jose Vergara is in fifth. So we're looking back at what happened to Tom. I think it was Tom Ward that went into the barrier there, Jake.
Yeah, it's looked a very nasty incident there. He's come down pit road. I think he's retired that kite. Maybe not. I don't see him on my track. Yes, he has. He's retired that car.
Okay, so back up front, it's Ruben Velasco stretching his legs now, but certainly just behind him, Juan Jose Sanchez is coming under significant pressure from Sylvain Pommarede, and certainly Ruben Velasco will be hoping that we see a repeat of what we saw in the BSR UK and I Skip Barber Championship last night, which is second and third places fighting so hard that the leader just runs away with the race. Surely these guys will know that they need to work together to try and draft up to the back of Ruben Velasco, Jake.
Yeah, draft, real big important part and factor of this racetrack, especially with these long straights. As I said though, the BMWs really having a strong performance so far. We have to look down all the way down the field. I've still not found our first RUF. 12th position we actually have to look down for. Michael Booth is our first RUF. So BMW's really, really big factor into this race, as I said before the start. So that draft is playing a big advantage to them cars with that top end speed.
Booth, of course, started that Porsche on the front row. He had a fantastic qualifying session, so there's definitely intrinsic pace in that RUF car. He's doing a reasonably good job. He's done fantastically well to recover back to 12th place. The last we saw Michael Booth, he got it horribly wrong going into the hairpin and had a little bit of an incident there, and to recover to 12th place is not a bad effort, but you've got to feel that realistically his chances of taking anything out of this race are over, Jake.
The car's not really damaged though, Marcus, so you could say he's still got a good chance if he can hold in this one and pick off the drivers that make a few mistakes. Because you've got drivers up there that are under pressure in the championship. George Wright, he's got to make a big performance to get through. He's actually up into P11, so really good charge from him, making up 11 spots off the start of this one. But you got to look at drivers like Sanchez and Pommarede. They're under big pressure together, running together. They're going to be fighting for that top place in the championship, so they could crack under the pressure as we see Pommarede pull to the inside. Not going to make a move there though. Really sensible positioning by him.
Yeah, it's one thing to have a look down there. It's a very difficult thing to, unless you're very, very close, it's a very difficult thing to overtake into there. It's easy to get carried away, think you're closer than you are, and just take a dive, and we don't need that. So attrition's starting to take its toll on some of these front runners. We've just seen Ashley Sutton park the car, and his race is over, so not quite sure what happened to Ashley there, but as I said, he's generally one of the quicker guys, but he's not been having it his own way in this championship, as now Sylvain Pommarede really starts to up the pressure on Juan Jose Sanchez. That number 26 car is right up behind that number 10, and he'll certainly be hoping that he can keep it very, very close, tuck that car underneath the rear wing of Juan Jose Sanchez in front of him, and get a good run down the long Ullman straight down towards the big hairpin, the wide hairpin of Sunset Bend. Surely that's got to represent the best chance of an overtake, Jake, but as I say that, it looks like Pommarede's got that exit wrong, and he's given Sanchez a little bit of breathing space there.
Yeah, really poor exit from him. I was expecting more. We look back down the field though, there's some moves going on. Joseph Vergara pulls to the inside to defend the block from Cristiano Tajanto though. Tajanto could lose out though to Alain Teasier. Will he be able to make it up the inside? It doesn't look like he's got it stuck. Christian Tajanto runs wide there, but he managed to hold that position, so really good fight going on through this field as we look down from about P5 down to about P12. They're all together, so anyone could really take a top 10 in this one at the moment.
Yeah, Teasier in 7th place is right on the tail of Christian Tajanto, and he's in turn right on the tail of Jose Vergara, and these guys certainly having the best battle of the top 10 at the moment. As Jake said, 5th place all the way back down to 10th place, separated by only 1.7 seconds. So what we're seeing is a train forming here, and it's going to be a matter of patience. If these guys can remain patient, I don't think there'll be any problems. They've got a good chance of catching the guys in front, but we all know certainly at this circuit, Jake, with these long runs and these big stops, the temptation is to try and sneak underneath somebody under braking when maybe the move's not on.
Yeah, especially with the guy at the back there, George Wright. We saw him really not using his head last week, and just going there into the tight right-hander, turn number 6. He tried looking up the inside of Vincenzo Martini, but not being able, and he looks up the inside again. He nearly makes contact, so George not using his head again. He really needs to sort himself out, because he's going to get another grid place penalty if he makes contact with someone. So he needs to sort himself out and calm down a bit, because they're all in line. He's not going to be going anywhere except from sitting there. Wait for a mistake and then make a move, but George really not using his head again, Marcus.
Yeah, he's going to be frustrated. We need to understand that, he qualified reasonably well in the championship, and he'll know that he can go quicker than he's going at the moment. But as you say, Jake, it's all about taking it easy. It's all about having a little bit of patience. As we see just slightly ahead, John Oncala Haraguay in the number 11 car is stalking Alain Teasier. He's staying right on his tail as they run down the long back straight, and he starts to gain under the draft, but I don't think he's close enough as they move into the braking zone, and no, he absolutely isn't, so he has to tuck in, and as I say that, George Lee Wright in 11th position gets a great run up the inside of Vincente Gascon Marti, and they're side by side as they cross the start finish line, giving each other plenty of room. Marti's got the inside line for turn 1. Surely George Lee Wright is going to have to cede position to him, and he does indeed. He backs out and lets Marti take that inside line into that wide sweeping turn 1, but he's going to be looking to get past as soon as he can. Jake, let's just hope that he does it cleanly.
Yeah, George been looking for a last couple of laps now, but I hope he doesn't try it again down into turn 6, because that's where everything could go wrong, and it could end his race and it could end his title championship lead at the moment. But he's looking all over the back. He's right on the back of them. They run under the Mobile 1 bridge now. They come into turn 6. Really, really silly move there. He moved to the inside. I think that's actually Michael Steffen in front of him. Is it not? No, it's not. I need to correct myself again. That was when they crossed the line. Yes, it is Martini actually, but really, really fierce fighting from them, both of them. He moved to the inside to try and defend, but not being able to, and then nearly came together.
So this top 5, if we have a quick look at it, I've just been looking at the lap times, and these guys are running within the top 5 times for that last lap. We're all within a couple of tenths of a second of each other, so certainly no one is getting away, as we see Kristen Tanahato have a real big look then up the inside of Jose Yves Vergara. Unfortunately, Tanahato has compromised his exit there, and he's given Vergara a chance to get away. But these guys are running very, very close, and closest of all now is Sylvain Pommarede in that number 26 car in 3rd position, really starting to hassle and hustle Juan Jose Sanchez. But as I say that, yet again, Sanchez is better out of that final turn, Le Mans, onto the long Almond Straight and down into Sunset Bend. And to be fair, if Pommerade's going to stand any chance of getting past Sanchez, he needs to work on his exit there, as Ruben Velasco is slow. Juan Jose Sanchez made a huge distance on Ruben Velasco on that last lap, Jake, and as we see it, the gap is down now to just 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, that gap really coming down throughout these top 4 here. As Andres Quintana only now 1.8 seconds back as well, so he's closed the gap in from 2 seconds. So Ruben Velasco definitely making some mistakes out front, and if he's not careful, that charging pack in that top 10 area could actually close in. We could see a top 10 battle for the lead here. But as we talk about the top 10, George Wright making the pass. He's actually now made the pass on Michael Steffen as well. So George using his head now. He's actually thought about it. He's calmed down a bit, and that temper's sort of gone away. He's now up into 9th, but Michael's not going to take that. He's looking to the outside as they come under the Mobile 1 bridge again into turn number 7. George will hold to the inside though. Looks like he's going to allow him just to go. Michael may try the cutback. Not being able to get that though. George holds off well. Great racing.
Slow exit from George Lee Wright there. He drops his right wheels on the grass there, and it's given Michael Steffen behind him a fantastic draft and a great run down into the braking zone. George covers, not over covers. There's slight side-to-side contact, but nothing malicious there, I don't think, Jake. And oh no, there's big contact, and Steffen has thrown a hip check, it looks to me, at George Lee Wright, and George Lee Wright has just slid off the circuit. We'll have another look at that, Jake, but feel free to correct me, but it just looked like that going side by side through that fast left-hand kink, George Lee Wright got a little bit too close and was on the receiving end of a bit of a hip check there from Michael Steffen.
Well, they traded paints going there into turn number 13, but to me that looked like netcode. That was a real big bump of netcode. Sorry to criticise the iRacing simulator, but real big netcode there. That's really unlucky for George. He was actually starting to use his head there, and now this has gone and happened to him. So he's now dropped down into about the P15 area. So not the end of the race for him. If he's not got that much of damage, he can continue this race. And remember, he will be near the front though if he finishes outside that top 10 for the next one. So it'll be very interesting as we go back on board with the leaders. Jean Jose Sanchez now down to 1/10 of a second. That gap has come down every single lap. This race is going to be incredible as we play out now, as there's only 10 minutes left on the play clock.
Yeah, and 1.2 seconds now covers the top 4 places. As you said, as we were looking at the Lee Wright and Steffen incident, again, Juan Jose Sanchez is getting a great exit out of Le Mans, that final turn before the long back straight, and it's put him in a great position. And as we say that, Sylvain Pommarede has finally got a run on him coming down the back straight and is right under his rear wing, thinks better of making a move and just follows him round. Will look to get a much better drive out of the hairpin as they go into the switchback section down towards Fangio, and it looks to me like Pommarede in 3rd place has got a great run here, but unfortunately this is a short braking zone into the Cunningham and Collier complex, and he's not going to be able to take advantage of him. I think this is the best chance we've seen so far from Sylvain Pommarede, Jake, to stick on the tail of Sanchez, and he'll be crossing his toes and his fingers, hoping he can get a decent drive out of that Le Mans turn towards the end of the lap and take advantage of that draft down the long back straight.
Sanchez really under pressure, as you say there, from Pommarede, but Really great defending, really great racing from both of the drivers. But while this is going on, you've got to remember, Ruben Velasco's actually managing to pull a gap. So Sanchez really got to work his tail off if he wants to close that gap on his teammate, but also pull away from Sylvain Pommarede. We've got to remember, Andres Quintana, will be closing in the whole time as they now come on the back straight. Sanchez not looking very close going into this bend, but Pommarede will look to the inside. He thinks better of it and backs out there. About to start lap number 8 though, so all things to play for still with 10 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, he's tried to throw a cheeky fake up the inside of Juan Jose Sanchez then to try and get Sanchez to take that tight line. If you can get the car in front of you to move over to the right, the exit from the long sunset bend onto the start-finish straight is really compromised, and you can really take advantage. You can sling the car up the inside, and providing you can get past the car in front of you by the end of the start-finish straight, you've got a good chance. If you can't get past that car in front, he's going to have the inside line for turn 1, Jake, and he's just going to block you out.
Yeah, really big thoughts and tactics have to go into people racing around this track. As you just say, they can block them out on the exit there, so it's going to play a big advantage as we see Jota Herrera there gets really loose. That allows Tajanto to really get onto the back bumper. But as you were saying, it's more than just racing around here. It's mind games with drivers as well. As we just saw Sylvain Pommarede move to the inside, and then he moved out. He was just trying to force that move from Sanchez, so he would make maybe a mistake on the entry or maybe on the exit, and that would allow him the momentum and the run to get by him. So it's all mind games as well when you're sitting in that driver's mirror, moving in and out, because they don't like that, because they know they're under pressure. So it'll be interesting to see how that battle develops. Top 3, 0.7 separates them.
Yeah, absolutely, and the top kind of 12, 13 places have split into a number of mini trains. We're obviously well aware of what's going up front, but slightly behind Jose Vergara, Christian Tanahato and Alain Teasier fighting hard for 5th, 2nd, 7th place, separated at the end of the last lap by just 4/10 of a second, and you can see if we look at Jose Vergara now, he's really going to have to defend manfully, again coming out of that critical Le Mans turn, trying to take that wide line and get the power down as quickly as he can do. And as we say that, it looks like Christian Tanahato has got loose coming out of that bend there in the number 17 car, and he's just thrown it off the circuit. As we say, Jake, getting the right exit is key there, but with these cars, the amount of traction and torque they have at that rear end, it looks like he's just lost it. Yeah,
really getting a big power slide on there, not being able to hold it. Not really doing the simplest thing either. He didn't let off the throttle, he just kept it pinned, so big mistake there as well from him. That's going to drop him back a fair few positions. That'll probably drop him back in around, I'd say, P10, maybe P11, so he comes down pit road, so that could be the end of his race. We could see him retire, or he could get that damage back and maybe push for them bottom points positions, but I definitely think we're going to see another retirement for this, as that now brings our retirement count up to, wow, that's a big retirement count. We've got 7 cars out of this race already, Marcus, so really big surprise. I thought we'd have a little more, but obviously not. Drivers really using their heads and having a really good race.
Yeah, and as we say that, regular BSR TV viewers will know Wojciech Rabstin quite well. He had a fantastic result in the Skippies last night. He did exactly the same thing coming out of Le Mans. He just looped it round, but luckily for him, he managed to keep it out of the wall and avoided damage, so he's able to continue, albeit a drop from 16th down to 29th place. So up front, a little bit of breathing space as a result of the fighting going on for 2nd and 3rd place that we saw, Jake. Ruben Velasco now has pulled away by just about 2nd from Juan Jose Sanchez, but 2nd, 3rd and 4th, so Sanchez, Pommarede and Quintana fighting as hard as they ever were, but it looks to me like with just over 7 minutes remaining, they may have given Velasco all the opportunity he needed to run away at the front of this race and take the race victory.
Yeah, just as we saw that there, watching them top 3, Sylvain Pommarede gets it really wrong as they come onto the Ulmann straight out of Le Mans. He seems to miss his braking point, nearly ran in the back of Sanchez, but managed to turn right. So that's now dropped him back into 4th, and Quintana now moves up into that P3 position. So Sanchez not going to be under pressure now, so it'll be interesting to see if he can push, maybe catch his teammate Velasco up, and we could have a race on our hands for the last 5 minutes of this as they come across the line. The gap is now at a 1.5 second gap, so he's only got 5 minutes or so to do that, so it'll be interesting to see whether he can bring that gap down and challenge for that last lap. But really, really interesting stuff as we look through the field as well, Marcus. We look at that 20th position, which will be the pole position for race number 2. Jason Perry currently there, but he's under pressure from Matthew Saladi, so that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Matthew's a regular for the BSR events. He's a good guy. So yeah, he's got Matthew Sicordi right behind him. And as a result of, it looks like we've dropped a couple of people in that lap, because those guys have just, as they cross the start-finish line and the timing screens refreshed there, Jake, they've jumped up to 17th and 18th respectively. So Linus Bostrom, of all things, wow, from the guy we were discussing before the race, now finds himself in that 20th place with the golden ticket to pole position for the second race, and he's got Timo Wessendal immediately ahead of him, but Linus will be very, very well aware that if all he needs to do is hang on, and he's got a 3-second gap to Tom Young behind him in 21st. He knows he only has to hang on to that 20th place, and he'll be on pole position for race 6 of the championship and give himself a great chance.
Yeah, really good chance. We were on about Linus. He seems to actually be struggling in this one, we must say, Marcus. He's not really had that massive charge with Sim, but he has done really well actually to gain them 18 positions to get into that 20th position. Obviously, cars have obviously wrecked out and retired from the race, so that has helped him along his way, but really interesting to see how he will do from that pole position if he obviously stays in 20th position. He makes a little mistake there, so that arm, I think, is really playing him a big downset in this one. But Matthew Dalton as well, we must mention, not really had the greatest of race either. Our last week's second race winner. He currently sits in P31 and in a different car this week, we must say as well. He's in the RUF instead of the BMW, which he did take the win at Watkins Glen last week. So maybe that could be a big disadvantage to him, thinking that the RUF could have been better around here than the BMW.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But to be fair to Matt, whenever you think of Matt Dalton, rough is one of the first words that springs to mind. So it makes a certain amount of sense that he finds himself in that car for this race, Jake. So moving on to different things, with just over 4 minutes remaining. So these guys, I think, will probably squeeze 3 more laps in. There'll be 2 laps before they'll get the white flag. I think they'll certainly cross the finish line before that, for the third time before that time expires. In first place, we've got number 7, Ruben Velasco, and he has a lead now from a teammate who I doubt will be pushing too hard to get past him, but is having to defend quite hard. Juan Jose Sanchez in the number 10 is in second place, just ahead, literally just ahead of Andres Quintana. And as I say that, Quintana has a look down the outside of Juan Jose Sanchez, and Sanchez has to do everything he can to make that BMW as wide as possible. But Quintana's got a great run as they come back into the next complex of corners. There's a car on the outside, very respectfully getting well out the way. That's, I believe that's Foss. Carlos Foss in the number 96 car getting well out of the way there, but Sanchez having to defend from Quintana, and again as they head down towards Le Mans, Quintana has a look. He'll be much better served by being patient and concentrating on getting a great drive out of Le Mans as they come to that big right-hander now, and Quintana is right up behind Juan Jose Sanchez, and it looks to me, Jake, like he's in a good position to make a pass there. Yeah,
really good. He's in that draft, coming down the back straight now. Going to be coming into the bend. Sanchez moves to the inside though. Quintana around the outside. Will he be able to make it stick? They're side by side through the last bend. Quintana around the outside. He's got the run. He's got the momentum on the outside. Sanchez could have lost out on his P2 position here, but they're side by side coming up the home straight. They cross the line. There is going to be nothing in this. Literally, they're 0.1 of a second separated. This is going to be an incredible battle to the end, Marcus. As there we see it, Quintana makes it up the inside. He had that run. He had the better position there. Sanchez not going to yield, though. Going to come back at him into turn number 3. Not going to be close enough, though. He thinks better of that as well and pulls back in. Really good fighting going on here. But we have missed something as well. Michael Stefan now up into P6. Alain Teasier up into P5. So there must have been a big accident we missed there in that top 5 area. So we'll have to see after the race and get a replay of that on your screens.
Yeah, it looks to me like Jose Vergara is dropping down the order. Vergara now down in 8th place, so I'm not sure what happened there, but as we finish our rundown of the top 10 after the excitement of that Quintana pass, so Velasco leads with Quintana now in 2nd place, Juan Jose Sanchez in 3rd, Sylvain Pommarede finds himself 4th, Alain Teasier has made his way all the way up into 5th place, a great effort from Teasier. Michael Stephen, as you correctly say there, Jake, is now in 6th place, ahead of Michael Booth, who's recovered extraordinarily well from dropping all the way down the field after that incident going into the hairpin, and we said he'd be one to look out for, so he's definitely very, very fast in that rough, and I'll be very excited to see what he can do in race 2. Jose Vergara has dropped down to, as we said, he's dropped way down the field there. He's now back in, I believe, 8th position. And his last lap was, he lost 14 seconds on that last lap, his lap 11. It was a 2:14.7 as opposed to regular, 2 minutes 7, 2 minute 9 that he was running beforehand. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. Behind him is Jean-Christophe Godard in the number 13 car, and rounding out the top 10, the founder member of the society to make me struggle with pronouncing people's names, is Kepa Zalbidi Garcia. George Lee Wright, another great recovery drive. Jake finds himself now all the way up in 11th place.
Yeah, really good recovery drive from there. He dropped back into about 20th position, so really good to come back into P11. As we must mention, the white flag is out. Ruben Velasco now taking that white flag, so this will be the driver's last lap. This is where the positions are going to be back. We've actually seen a big position change here. Sylvain Pommarede up into P3. We've missed something here. Sanchez dropped into P4.
Yeah, it looks like he's had a bit of a problem there, and I'm just trying to keep an eye on exactly what might have happened there. It looks to me that he's got caught up, I believe, with... No, I'm not quite sure what's happened to him there. He's lost a heck of a lot of time, though. If we look again at his last lap, it's a much slower lap than you would normally expect. So yeah, absolutely something's happened there, Jake, and as we go into this final lap, it looks like he's had a problem, and it's all changed. But back up the front, Ruben Velasco still well in the lead, and he'll be delighted that he's managed to pull out almost now a 2 second gap to the car behind him of Andres Quintana, who we saw make that impressive pass to move up the field. And we've now got a 4 second, almost 4 second gap back to Sylvain Pommarede in 3rd place.
Yeah, really, really big twist here to that top 3 in the last couple of laps, last 5 minutes. As I said, Quintana made that 2nd position move. He managed to get him around the outside. Sanchez, though, P2, dropped back to P4. Not the best race for him, as we now watch Ruben Velasco come down the back. He comes into Sunset Turn. Round there, he's not put a foot wrong in this race, Marcus. He's going to come under the bridge. He comes onto the home straight, comes up this real long airfield straight. He'll take the checkered flag. That will be his first win of the season. So we keep that record going, Marcus, of 5 winners in 5 races. So this season's just getting hotter.
Yeah, Velasco will be absolutely delighted. So he takes the race win in the number 7 in a total race time of 26 minutes 15 seconds, .3. Finishing behind him in 2nd place is Andres Quintana, a fantastic race there, and he finishes 2.2 seconds behind Velasco as a result of the shake-up we had in the closing stages of that race. Sylvain Pommarede brings the number 26 home in 3rd place, ahead of Juan Jose Sanchez, who we saw running so strongly for such a long period of that race. Alain Teasier brings it home in 5th place, a great result for Alain, and he leads the charge for JCL Sim Racing. But unfortunately, I think they're going to lose ground to the guys in front of them from the Playful Bet Overgaming team, who sewed up there, I think, 1st and 4th places. So great result for them. Michael Stephen in the rough recovered to 6th place. Michael Booth is 7th. Another great recovery drive from Michael after some issues right at the start. Jose Vergara in 8th. Jean-Christophe Godard brings the number 13 home in 9th place. And rounding out the top 10 is Kepa Zalbidi Garcia. And it looks like we've had a problem on the last lap with George Lee Wright. Lee Wright doesn't appear to be running and is dropping down the field, so he's had an issue on that last lap. Jake, he was running 11th place, he's now showing in 28th and plummeting further down the field.
Yeah, I have actually just dragged him in here, so be interesting to hear his story in a minute, but definitely something interesting happening there. Linus Bostrom thought he had that pole position for the 2nd race, but he actually finished in P19, so he'll be on the outside front row. Fabio Gonzalez will take that pole position for race number 2, we must mention that. So really good race from them drivers to make up them positions, but I think we've got George here now, and what happened on the end there, George? Maybe not. He must not be there then.
Well,
So
I've just been looking at a replay, and I don't know if he miscalculated. I'm sure we can find out from George. I don't know if he miscalculated the end of the race, but he just seems to pull over and park the car and retire to the pits on that final lap. I'm not quite sure what has happened there, but maybe he's misjudged the number of laps in the race there. He's not had any kind of incident that I can see. It looks to me very much like he's just parked that car, Jake.
whether he's obviously misjudged the length of the race there, Marcus. That's not something you generally see in every BSR GT Sprint Cup race, but definitely an interesting one. Actually, we've got George back now, I think.
Yeah, good evening.
What happened at the end there, George?
Yeah, I just ran out of fuel.
Oh, disaster. It's a real shame there. You recovered really, really well into 11th place at the time, George, so you've obviously got the pace round here. Do you think you can make up places? It looks like you'll be starting race 2 in 29th position. Do you think you stand a good chance of getting a reasonable position, or do you think that slight miscalculation of the fuel has really done for you tonight?
No, I think I can recover, but if Michael Stevens takes me out again, then something has to be done. Like, that is completely unacceptable. Like, I gave him room, and he decided to turn right and take him and myself out.
We did have a look at that at the time, George, and it looked to us very much like netcode, so it might be worth having another look at that one.
Yeah, well, yeah, from my angle, I gave him acres of room, and he just seemed like he just didn't care and just took me out.
Yeah, there was certainly daylight between the two cars, I think. So I think that was netcode more than anything else. I mean, it's obviously one of the consequences of racing on sim racing, George, and it seems like you've been on the receiving end of some bad luck tonight. Certainly, without speaking for Michael Stephen, I'm fairly sure they didn't mean to take you out, but running out of fuel as well it gives you a great opportunity to charge through the field for race 2, and we really look forward to seeing that. So thanks for taking the time to talk to us, George. We do appreciate it. Right, so we'll see George in race 2 then. So. Interesting there, Jake. Starting from 29th position, he's obviously not a happy bunny. Let's just hope he can keep his obvious unhappiness in check for that second race.
Yeah, the temper's really flying there, so not really the best time to speak to him and let him calm down for a little while and see how he judges the situation off afterwards. But really unlucky for him, really running out of fuel. But that incident, we'll say it again, it did look a big accident on both drivers' behalf. They were giving each other plenty of room before that, Marcus. We both said it. So it's one of them things. It's racing, tight racing, so it happens. Drivers just need to put that to the back of their head and move on and not hold that rivalry, really. Yeah,
absolutely. So things bubbling along nicely. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, Jake. Obviously, I'm quite looking forward to having a look, see what goes on. So I believe we've got another guest just coming to join us.
Yeah, Linus Bostrom, the guy that will be starting in P2 for the next one. Really good race from him though, up from the P38 position, and especially with that really bad broken arm. So Linus, good race, mate. Done really well there to get into 19th. I thought you had the pole there for a little while.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was a really tough race, and on the first lap I think I gained something like 13 positions due to a lot of cars going off the track. And then I was just taking it easy, watching out for everybody, and for the last few laps I was holding on to get the pole, and then on the last lap someone dropped out and I got 19th rather than 20th, so I'm happy with that.
Excellent. So you'll be starting on the front row. How is the arm, Linus? I don't know if everyone's aware, but for the last 2 weeks you've been racing with a broken arm. Is it causing you a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain, or is it something you're able to manage throughout the races?
Well, it's just laying in my lap, so I'm not thinking about it when I'm racing, which I get to pay for after the race when it's all swelled up. But in the races I just use one hand, so it's not bothering that much.
Oh wow, so you're literally just driving with one hand at the moment?
Yeah, I'm upshifting with my thumb on a button on the steering wheel and downshifting regularly, so just one-handed.
And do you think that's going to limit your opportunity to take a race, the win in race 2, or do you think that you've pretty much nailed that system now of driving using thumb shifting and just the one hand. Do you think you're going to be able to battle for the win, or will you be happy with maybe just a top 5 position?
I don't think I'm fast enough on this track, but I won at Silverstone race 2 there about 6 hours after getting the cast on my hand with a little bit of practice with one hand, so the opportunity is definitely there. I just need to find the pace on this track.
Well, we certainly, Jake and I wish you good luck, and it's incredible to see the pace that you are running. Bear in mind you're doing it with one hand, you're certainly going quicker just using one hand than I can race with both. So good luck in race 2, and we hope you have a great result, Linus, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, so as we said, race 2 coming up very, very rapidly will be immediately following the end of this broadcast, so stick with us on BSR TV on YouTube and select the race 6 option from the videos list that you'll find listed there on the BSR TV channel in YouTube. We're looking forward to race 2. There's going to be hopefully some great racing, probably a couple of tantrums, and at least one armed driver. So for a Waste for One, I've been Marcus Naris, and with me has been Jake Cameron.
Yeah.
We'll see everyone in race 2, Jake.
Yeah, we will. And just to add to that Linus Bostrom thing, sometimes driving with one hand, that could come in handy later in life. But
yeah, he's certainly going to. I don't know which arm he's injured, so we'll leave it there. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all in a few minutes for race 2.